Breaking news from Bangladesh. The Prime Minister has resigned and left the country, destination unknown. This comes as thousands of people have stormed the Prime Minister's residence. We're joining my colleague Azaid Mashari, who is talking to Samira Syed on the ground. Samira, can you tell us more about what's happening? Samira. Well, Azaid, I'm here in Dhaka, and I can see that people are celebrating on the streets, hugging and exchanging garlands. There's a real sense of jubilation in the air. The BBC is working with freelance journalists on the ground, and one of them has told us that the Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, has resigned and has already left the country. Azaid, that's a dramatic turn of events for Bangladesh and for the Prime Minister. Sheikh Hasina only got elected earlier this year in January, and those elections were mired in controversy. There were questions about the legitimacy of the elections, and the main opposition party did not contest. There were also crackdowns on other opposition members who were trying to campaign. So, there have been questions about democracy and rule in Bangladesh for a long time. Samira, that's right, Azaid. Sheikh Hasina's government has been mired in controversy, and there have been international criticisms of her increasingly authoritarian regime. The protests started about a month ago, and originally it was student-led, demanding an end to quotas for civil government jobs. But since then, the protests have swelled, and it's become a movement to remove Sheikh Hasina from power. Azaid, and now, it seems like that movement has been successful. The Prime Minister has resigned and, according to reports, has fled the country. That's a really big moment for Bangladesh. Samira, can you put this into context for us? How big a moment is this for the country? Samira. Well, Azaid, this is a huge moment for Bangladesh. Sheikh Hasina has been in charge since 2009, and now it seems like she's been toppled by this student-led movement. The police crackdown on these student protests was really harsh, and we saw some 300 people die in the last month or so. That's worse than the violence they saw during the Civil War in 1971. So, this is a very significant moment in Bangladesh's politics and in the country. Azaid, and what about the military, Samira? There were questions about whether the military would intervene against the students. What's happening with the military now? Samira. Well, Azaid, it seems like the military is not intervening, at least not yet. There are questions about the allegiance of the military and whether they will support a new government. The army chief was supposed to give an address earlier today, but that's been delayed. There are reports that he's holding meetings with stakeholders, so we might hear from him soon. Azaid, and what about the security infrastructure, Samira? How did it collapse so quickly? Samira. Well, Azaid, I think we started seeing some early signs of a shift when the speech by the army chief was delayed. There were reports that Sheikh Hasina wanted to deliver a taped address to the nation, but that wasn't possible. Then we saw that the police were allowing the students to come into the city center, so there was a sense that the security infrastructure was collapsing. Azaid, and finally, Samira, what happens now? Who is likely to step in this sort of scenario? Samira. Well, Azaid, that's the big question. There are questions about whether the country will now emerge into some kind of military rule until a new government can be formed. That's a big concern, and people on the ground are still trying to work out what's happening next.